How's it going, everyone? And welcome to Chapter 3 of the Story of Aeternum, a series in which I'll take you all along with me on a cinematic journey through the main story quest of New World, so you can get all of the lore without having to level up another character. But before we get into Chapter 3, please consider giving the video a like and subscribe to the channel with notifications on so be notified when each chapter goes live. Now, let's dive in. Chapter 3, Lochnir's Betrayal. I left Pridewind and headed up north to the pirate camp Jinjay told me about. After meeting up with Ser Payne, he taught me a neat little trick that would come in handy in the future. He showed me how to make something called a camp, which if built right, would be a place in which my soul could be reborn if I ever died while out in Aeternum. After making my first camp, I took a few minutes to regain my strength from the long journey over here, and then headed back to talk strategy with Ser Payne. He informs me that what used to be a small camp of pirates on the beach is now a war camp, with more and more pirates and supplies arriving by the minute. Surely something bad was on the horizon. With such large lost numbers, and so few of us, Ser Payne volunteered to go in alone and challenge the leader to a duel. If he wins, they withdraw from the shores and never return. A noble offer, but a stupid one all the same. Pirates are not to be trusted, and it seems as if Ser Payne isn't really one for coming up with strategies, so I suggested a counterplan. I would instead head in alone, quietly, and destroy as many of the supplies as I could in order to slow down their progress. Ser Payne agreed my plan was the better option, so I headed out and sneakily made my way into the pirate camp. I crept around ever so quietly, throwing all of their supplies I could find off the docks into the waters below, and blew up all of the rowboats they were using to transport their goods. Hopefully, this would put a significant dent in their efforts. Once I destroyed all I could, I headed back towards Ser Payne to begin phase 2 of the plan. As I made my way up the hill to rendezvous with Ser Payne though, I could hear some commotion off in the distance.
Come on, you stiff-necked fool! What possible interest would I have in spying on this pathetic little outpost you got here?
You see, that is precisely the kind of thing a spy would say, particularly when she was caught creeping around near our camp.
Tell me this then, Sir Wisdom. What exactly would I be wanting to learn? How you scratch your arse in an iron suit?
Ha! Trying to distract me with insults, eh? But it won't work.
Took your sweet time getting here. I was sizing up the pirate base until this suspicious sod nabbed me. Can you tell him I'm not a spy?
Sorry, who are you?
Yeah, very funny.
Only joking, she's with us.
Well, if you know her, then I suppose that we could give her another chance. But I'll have my eye on you, young lady.
Better keep your eyes to yourself, unless you want them poked out.
After clearing things up with Grace and Ser Payne, I reconvened with Grace to get a report on what's actually going on inside the pirate fortress. Turns out, her scouting mission was a success, as she may have found the source that was driving these lost pirates onwards, and it was located inside the cave, only a short distance away. It's some kind of strange altar, glowing like a beacon, that's drawing all the lost in the area towards it. If I could destroy it, maybe that would cause the war camp to disperse. So I headed off towards the altar, to demolish it, and put an end to this lost pirate gathering. And as a thanks for her intel, I promised Grace I'd bring her back some loot as well, so she could get one step closer to purchasing herself a new ship, which could get us off of this mad island once and for all. The war camp was massive, and it took all of my strength to fight my way through it, but eventually, I made my way up the mountain, and found myself standing in front of the entrance to an ominous looking cave. It had the same black skull banners I'd seen in the mines earlier, flying high all around it, and an eerie sound came from within. As I fought my way inside the cave, I could see what looked like the altar Grace described, off in the distance, with a strange glow emanating off of it. It had symbols on it unlike anything I'd seen before, but I wasn't here to study the strange object, I was here to destroy it. So I kicked the altar with all of my might, and the whole thing crumbled into rubble before me. Suddenly, I heard a loud noise to the right of me, and as I turned to see what it was, a large pirate captain stood above me. As I was locked eyes with this lost pirate, another pirate jumped me from behind and began attacking me ferociously. Each time I took out one pirate, another would come running in to protect what seemed to be their leader. Eventually though, I dealt with all of their reinforcements, and it was down to just me and him. He fought a lot smarter than any lost I'd dealt with to this point, as he tried to lure me into traps he'd laid out. But eventually, he ran out of tricks, and was forced to face me head on. He fought fiercely, and pushed me to my absolute limit, but eventually, I got the best of him, and landed the killer blow. As his body disintegrated, he left behind a very expensive looking blunderbuss, with the words Helvin the Navigator engraved onto it. Maybe that was his name before he had fallen lost. I grabbed the blunderbuss, as I figured Grace might be able to fetch a pretty penny for it, gathered some fragments from the shattered altar for future research purposes, and headed my way back to regroup with Grace and Ser Payne. Tons of pirates still remained outside the cave, patrolling the area, and because I was so beaten up from my fight with Helvin, I figured I'd try and see if Ser Payne was right about those camps he taught me how to build earlier. If I was going to sacrifice myself though, I might as well take some pirates with me. So I made a bunch of noise, luring as many pirates as I could find towards me, stood beside an explosive barrel, ignited it, and blew myself and the pirates into oblivion. The pain was excruciating, but sure enough, I found myself coming to right at the camp I set up earlier, and I was now miles closer to where my comrades were hiding out than I was before. It was a strange sensation dying and being reincarnated, but it sure beat fighting my way out of that pirate camp. I went over and reconvened with Grace, who was pleased with her payment, and then I went to inform Ser Payne of the good news, or as Grace likes to call him,
Ser Payne in me ears.
He sends me back to Pridewind to inform the Night Region of what is going on with these tablets, but he chooses to stay behind to keep an eye on the pirate camp and make sure they don't try anything further. Because time is of the essence, he informs me of these magical objects known as spirit shrines that allow a person to travel to and from a place they visited on the island in a matter of seconds. With his instructions on how to use them, I headed up to the top of the hill where one of these is located to give it a go. I touched the shrine before everything faded to black, and I awoke seconds later beside a different shrine, now inside the walls of Pridewind, miles away from where I just was. It was a jarring sensation, but for sure better than the arduous journey I would have had ahead of me otherwise. After regaining my wits, I headed over to meet up with Jinjae and fill her in on what took place down on the beach. She's pleased I returned in one piece, and informs me that I should check in with Sage Moira to see if she's made any progress on the tablet fragments I brought her earlier. In the meantime, she plans on confronting Lochnir on why he's been avoiding her. So, I headed off to check in with Moira to see if she's made any progress. Thankfully, she made a breakthrough while I was away. By comparing the tablet fragments to other stonework from the region, she was able to surmise that the tablet must have come from the ancient ruins of Caladan, in the Eastern Wood. She warns me though, that all the ruins spread across Aeternum are shrouded in centuries, if not millennia, of unsolvable mysteries, and they can be very dangerous. If I'm to learn more about these tablets that are wreaking havoc across the region though, I must investigate these ruins, so that was the plan, no matter how dangerous it may be. But before I headed off, Moira insisted on giving me another history lesson, this time about the ancients that once walked these lands, as I may run into remnants of them in these ruins.
Aeternum's ruins tell the tale of a magnificent civilization that once dominated the island. Its architects, the ancients, discovered or possibly created the energy we call Azos. In the millennia that followed, humanity came from countless prehistoric cultures: Sumeria, China, Egypt, and more. They were called to explore the sea, summoned by the ancients to this island. These early arrivals worshipped the ancients as gods. They toiled under the ancients' guidance, building hundreds of monuments and towers. But humanity's savage nature could not be tamed. Wars broke out, and amid the chaos, corruption first appeared. To combat this new menace, the ancients imbued a chosen few with gifts. These heroes were granted monumental powers and life eternal. The wars raged on for centuries, and the ancients blessed entire armies. But most of the human vessels degraded into mindless skeletal warriors. Those wars ended millennia ago, and the ancients disappeared. But their haunted guardians still protect the ruins, oblivious to the fact their cause has long since lost its meaning.
But after another history lesson from Moira, I was off in the direction of Caladan. Once at the ruins, I began my investigation. Like Moira mentioned, the place was crawling with skeletal-like creatures that fought unlike the lost or the corrupted that I'd faced previously. As I cleared out the area, I came across research notes that had been scattered around the ruins, and these notes didn't belong to just anybody, but Lochnir himself. It seemed as if he was trying to channel the essence of the altars around these ruins to somehow influence the lost, and he mentioned in the notes that he will search further at Antares for more of these objects. After investigating Caladan fully, I decided to head onwards to Antares to follow in Lochnir's footsteps, but just as I was leaving the ruins, I saw Moira approaching off in the distance. She came to inform me that she might have missed a few clues on the fragments that I'd given her, and that the new information points to the tablet actually coming from Antares instead of Caladan. Luckily enough, I was heading there anyway, so I handed her Lochnir's notes that I'd discovered for her to study further as I pushed onwards to Antares. The outer skirts of the ruins of Antares were covered in ancients and was extremely difficult to navigate through. If I wasn't fighting strange creatures I'd never seen before, I was climbing my way up the derelict structure until eventually I'd made my way inside the ruins. But the struggle didn't end there. Inside the ruins, magical laser beams shot around from wall to wall, eviscerating anything they touched as a chilling noise filled the hallways. I crouched and I crawled my way through, avoiding the lasers at all costs, until finally I had come to the end of the maze-like ruins, and there before me stood another strange altar, like the one I'd seen in the pirate fortress, being guarded by some kind of magical ancient creature. After making short work of the creature, and studying the tablet that stood before me, it was time to head back out of the ruins and regroup with Moira. But just as I was exiting the ruins, I noticed another page of Lochnir's research journal laying on the ground, and the words I read on this page were truly horrific. He had cracked the secret to controlling the lost, and the object he built his staff around held the power to do so. To master this knowledge, though, he had to kill a young squire nearly a dozen times before he'd finally surrendered his soul to the lost, so Lochnir could practice controlling it, truly the act of a monster. Lochnir had to be stopped, so with this information now known, I made my way back to where Moira was waiting to fill her in on what I had found out. I returned to not only find Moira, but Grace as well, who had brought dire news from Pridewind. As Jinjay went to confront Lochnir, she instead found him leading a large crowd down south to welcome the true heir. From there, she jumped on a horse and headed to Pridio Farms, telling Grace to go find me and tell me to meet her there. Knowing what we now know about Lochnir from the ruins, we had to do something fast to stop him, before he could fulfill whatever dark plan he had in mind. So I headed off to regroup with Jinjay, with Grace following behind shortly after, as Moira returned to Pridewind to see if she could uncover some kind of way to counteract Lochnir's sorcery. I have no idea what is coming next, but one thing is for certain. This isn't going to end peacefully. But that brings an end to Chapter 3 of the story of Aeternum. These videos take a massive amount of work to put together, so if you enjoyed it, please consider giving the video a like and subscribe to the channel with notifications on to be notified when Chapter 4 goes live. But until next time, have a good one. Thanks for watching another video, and massive shout out to all the channel members and patrons seen on screen now. Links on how to become one in the video description. If you'd like to watch Chapter 4 of this series, if it's available, click on the video to the left. Or, if you'd like to check out another one of my series in How to Be a Millionaire, click on the playlist to the right.